This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, hello, there's Jeff Cardano welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, January 31st, we finally end January, back in 1988, Super Bowl 22 happened. Yes, we know it was a blowout, Washington crushing Denver 42-10, but it was how Washington did it, which was amazing. So anyway, the game was at Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, the first time San Diego hosted the Super Bowl. The Broncos were back in the Super Bowl because they went to Super Bowl 21 and got beaten by the Giants. Anyway, this Super Bowl was an unusual Super Bowl because this happened when there was a players' strike. Yeah, we all know 1982 was affected by a players' strike. But the 87 season was also hit by a players' strike. But teams played with replacement players instead of the normal players. So the NFL was more prepared this time by the players' strike. Each team played 15 games instead of 16, and there were replacement players until the dispute was settled. This was actually more harmful for the New York Giants, who were 0-3 with the replacements and missed the playoffs. The Broncos were 10-4-1 heading into the game. Washington was 11-4. Strangely enough, Denver was the best team in the AFC that year, and Washington, even though they won one more game than Denver did, were the 3 seed. Washington had a quarterback controversy and all that. But we'll get more into that in the background. So this was huge. Washington and Denver. Washington had head into Super Bowl 22. This would be the first time an African American quarterback would start in the Super Bowl, which was Doug Williams from Grambling. He used to play for Tampa, but he led Tampa to the NFC title game in the 79-80 season. However, because of penny pinching from Hugh Culverhouse of Tampa, he went to the USFL, and then Washington brought him up to be the backup. So Jay Schrader was supposed to be the starter, but Schrader had problems, inconsistent play. Gibbs put Doug Williams on to be a quarterback, and he did pretty well in his 5 regular season games. The Redskins had some good receivers. Gary Clark, Ricky Sanders, the great Art Monk. George Rogers was a good running back, but because of injuries, he couldn't play well, and that meant Timmy Smith would come in his place as a rookie running back. Kelvin Bryant was a good fullback coming over from the USFL himself. The Redskins had the Hogs offensive line, Joe Jacoby, Russ Grimm, among others. Defensively, they had Dexter Manley, a decent defensive end when he wasn't full of cocaine. Charlie Mann, another good defensive end, and Darrell Green. So Washington was 11-4, the NFC East champions, and the 3 seed in the NFL playoffs, which meant they had to go through the wildcard round. Denver, on the other hand, being 10-4-1. It's kind of weird how, as I said, they won 10 games, fewer than Washington, but they still were the number 1 seed in the AFC. John Elway had a good season with over 3,100 yards passing. Vance Johnson and Ricky Nattell were good wide receivers. Clarence Kay was a decent tight end. Sammy Winder was okay as a running back. And the defense had Carl Mecklenburg and Rulon Jones. Dan Reeves, RIP, was the head coach. So the Broncos, as the 1 seed, got to have a bye and host the division round against Houston, winning 34-10. So they crushed Houston. The worst part was that Vance Johnson got injured and didn't play in the Super Bowl, which was terrible. Denver then beat Cleveland in the AFC title game on their turf. Of course, we have the drive from 1987, the drive, and then the next year was another Cleveland thing, the fumble. Cleveland had a chance to tie the game on a Ernest Biner touchdown, but then he fumbled it thanks to Jeremiah Castile stripping the ball and Randy Lilly picking it up. And the Broncos won the game. The Redskins had to play the Chicago Bears in the playoffs. First and foremost. Oh no, they didn't go to the wildcard round. I forgot that prior to 1990, the wildcard game was number 4 and 5, and the winner of that would face the 1 seed, unless they're from the same division, I think, and then they would have had to switch places. I don't know. But anyhow, Washington went to Chicago to play the Bears, and the Bears were good. Unfortunately, thanks to a punt return touchdown by Darrell Green, even though the Redskins were down 14-0, they beat the Bears 21-17, putting Walter Payton in retirement. Then they had to go to Minnesota. They had to host Minnesota in the NFC title game. Minnesota was a critical team, a Cinderella team. They were 8-7. They had to go to New Orleans to face the 12-3 New Orleans Saints in the wildcard game. Hold on, you're thinking, wait a minute, the Saints were 12-3 and they had to play in the wildcard game? Well, all will be explained later. But anyway, they went to New Orleans. New Orleans had their first playoff game in team history, and Minnesota crushed them 44-10. Wow. That's just bad luck for the Saints. Saints would always have bad luck in the playoffs until 2000. But then they had to go to San Francisco, who were 13-2. Remember, San Fran and New Orleans, at the time, were in the same division. So San Fran won the division. New Orleans had to go to the wildcard game, even though they were 12-3. And the Vikings shocked the 13-2 Niners 36-24. It was like, what the heck? How did Minnesota do that? Anthony Carter put on a clinic that day in San Francisco. However, the Redskins did win the game 17-10, even though that the Vikings had a chance to score the tying touchdown. Darren Nelson thought he had a touchdown pass, but it was Darrell Green who knocked it out of his hands on a 4th and 4 at the 6-yard line for the Redskins. If Minnesota scored, who knows, maybe Minnesota would have been a super Cinderella. But no, Skins had to play the Broncos. The Broncos were favored to win. And it looked like Elway, who was the NFL MVP, was going to get his title. And Doug Williams only played 5 games and all that. Broncos wore their home orange jerseys. The Skins had white and burgundy pants. So ABC got to broadcast the game. Al Michaels with Frank Gifford and Dan Dierdorf in the thing. So anyway, ABC was doing their job. All of that. So anyway. So what happened in Super Bowl 22? The show after Super Bowl 22 was the Wonder Years, which it really, like the 80s version, not the current version now, but the Wonder Years was a great show and all that. It was successful, very successful. It was only the second successful series to debut following the Super Bowl up to that time. The A-Team, which premiered following Super Bowl 17, was the first. And actually, ABC wanted to show something called China Beach to do with Vietnam and all that for the post Super Bowl slot. But because they thought the game was running long, and it's a 2-hour thing, so basically that's what happened. So they moved China Beach away. China Beach flopped. Like they only had like 6 episodes or something like that. But the Wonder Years helped ABC do well. In fact, if you go to the official Jaguar Gator page, no, unofficial Jaguar Gator, I think that's what he calls himself on YouTube. He did something on this just the past week. Gotta love that. So anyway, the Star Spangled Banner was performed on the trumpet by Herb Alpert. Don Hudson participated in the coin toss ceremony because it was his 75th birthday. More on Don Hudson in my birthday video. So anyway, the game was not that good at first. Well, Denver scored first. John Elway to Ricky Natal for a 56-yard touchdown pass on Denver's first possession. It was 7-0 right off the bat. Rich Carlos kicked an extra point and a field goal too. So it looked like Denver was going to win. However, the second quarter was a different story. When Washington got the ball back from a punt, they had one play. Doug Williams threw a pass to Ricky Sanders, who raced down the sideline 80 yards untouched, making it 10-7. Well, Washington didn't have Mark Mosley. They had Ali Haji Sheik, who used to play for the Giants. I remember something right. So anyway, after Denver failed again, Washington went on a 5-play, 64-yard drive. Gary Clark got a touchdown pass from Doug Williams to make it 14-10. And then on the second play of a drive, Timmy Smith ran one in from 58 yards to make it 21-10. And then with 3:40 left, Doug Williams threw another touchdown pass to Ricky Sanders, 28-10. And then just before halftime, Williams threw one to Clint Didier, he didn't play for the Cowboys. I think it's someone else. But Clint Didier, touchdown. It's 35-10 at the half. Washington just scored 35 points in one quarter. That's unheard of. Even today, like 5 touchdowns in one quarter? I mean, how many times has that been done? 6, 7, 10? I don't know how many times, but you get the point. Timmy Smith did run in for a touchdown in the fourth quarter, but Denver did not have anything after that. That was just what the hell? It didn't help that John Elway threw for 3 interceptions, even though he passed for 257 yards and a touchdown. But the running game sucked. Gene Lane had more yards than Sammy Winder. Hell, John Elway had more rushing yards than Sammy Winder. Timmy Smith carried the ball 22 times for 204 yards and 2 touchdowns. 204 yards. Amazing. What's more, he had more rushing yards than the top Redskins receiver. That was Ricky Sanders, with his 193 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns in that game. So yeah, lots of records were set. Ricky Sanders set the record for most receiving yards in a game. Most rushing yards in a game by Timmy Smith. Most passing yards, Doug Williams, 340 at that time. I think there were more records set and all that. But yeah, this was huge. Super Bowl 22 was very huge. And Washington used 5 touchdowns in one quarter to take down Denver. Denver had no answers. The funny thing is that Washington, the 10-0 Washington comeback was actually the record for largest Super Bowl deficit for a team to come back to win until Patriots 28 Pats came back from 28-3 down against the Falcons in 2017. Amazing. If you have a 14-point lead, you're going to win the Super Bowl. And then 2017 changed all that. Well, stranger things have happened, and all hail the Redskins. All hail, all hail. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.